So 3 months ago, I showed you guys how to compost any type of animal body using a bunch of different types of microbes like indigenous microorganisms from Korean natural farming, bokashi compost, and leaf mold soil. We set this pile here and left it. Let's see how it turned out after all the microbes have been working. So you can see a bunch of the pile has already turned to soil here on the top. Now remember, we never turned this thing once. We just set it up and left it for 3 months. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. So here we have a bunch of actinobacteria and some fungi built into these leaf piles here. You can see that they're a bit dry, but they are being held together. And I saw my first bones from the lamb. These looks like they're the rib bones, and they've completely fallen apart. This is some of the wool from the lamb as well. This is from the bokashi compost pile. This is a bottom of my pig's jaw. And check out some of those decomposing beetles right there. You can see the tusks, some of the back molars, and take a look at that yellow mold that's working on the bone right there. Remember, we put our wood chips down here at the bottom. That was our bottom layer, was charcoal and wood chips to help absorb a lot of the smell. Let's try to excavate this lamb body and see what happened to it. So on top of the lamb, you can see all of these little bugs here, sort of millipede type of bugs that are decomposing whatever's left on this. And really, there's not much left. There's no skin. The hair takes forever to decompose. And there's like some soft tissue, things like that. That's really the only large amount of matter left. But let's go a little deeper, see if we can find something else cool. This lamb really decomposed. I mean, it's basically gone. I can't really even find that much other than the bones now. The microbes did their work, and I'm standing right in the middle of it, and there's hardly any smell left. The moisture, as I dig down, it's really not bad at all. So those wood chips did a really great job of absorbing everything. I don't smell any anaerobic smell. It's just sort of like leftover decomposition smell from the fur and some of that soft tissue. It smells great. So now what we need to do is get some of this outer material that stayed a bit drier. Let's get it wet. We'll get a bunch of leaves and the surrounding mulch right here inside and mixed up, and that'll give us another boost of microbes, and the wetness will help to wake everything up, get those microbes active again, and we should build up some heat from this and just continue the decomposition process so that in another 3 months I could turn it again if I want, or at this point I could pretty much just leave it until spring when I'm going to put this into my garden beds. And remember, if you want to get this thing as hot as possible, pile this back up as high as you can. And I'm gonna add in probably 10 minutes worth of water to this, and that should be enough to get it going. So now what can we do with the bones at the end of this compost pile? Once I use this and put it into the garden, I don't really wanna put these huge bones into the garden beds. That's not very beneficial for me. Let's extract as much of the nutrients as we possibly can. So what you see up here, I have a bunch of other bones that I've just been saving and letting them sit out in the sun so that they get bleached white. And what I'll do next with them is a Korean natural farming technique called water-soluble calcium phosphate. So what we can do is extract those minerals directly from the bone by burning it in a burn barrel. Essentially, we're gonna turn it into charcoal, and then we'll mix that with vinegar in order to extract those minerals off. And then we can use that in a 1 to 1,000 dilution directly onto our plant's leaves. We can feed it to our animals to give them a boost, and we can feed it directly to the soil as well. So there's a lot of different uses for this, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to make all the different Korean natural farming inputs in an upcoming online class, and I'll be doing an in-person class as well next spring and summer. So if you'd like to be notified of when that's going to happen, click the link down below to sign up for my email list, and I will notify you guys when the course comes out. If you guys were wondering, Millie's doing really great. She's been a wonderful dog the last few years since we adopted her. After we found her, she showed up on our property one day. She just loves to follow me around the farm, and we hang out and helps me move the chickens if they're scratching up our garden. I send her out there and she runs them off real quick. So Millie is a great farm dog, and she's a cattle dog mix. And if you want to learn more about my dog, you can watch this little video I made about her story. So I put the tarp back on here to help retain a lot of that moisture. As it evaporates, it's gonna hit the tarp and then fall back into the pile. Because a lot of these materials like the straw and hay, it's hard for it to absorb moisture just by spraying it. It takes a bit of time for that to happen. So that's one big reason I like the tarp. The other reason, to keep sunlight off of it, to keep extra rain off of it. If a ton of rain, like multiple inches over a few days, comes down, it could actually leach out a bunch of the nutrients that are in this compost. And I don't want to lose any of that. I want it to maintain in the pile. I'm also trying to keep it away from predators like my dog, Millie, because she might get in here to dig things up to try to get one of those bones, to keep my chickens out of it. So there's a lot of reasons for using a tarp, but a tarp will minimize the oxygen getting into that pile a little bit. So if you want it to be super duper aerobic, maybe you're doing a thermophilic composting pile where it's only going to take, you know, a month to 6 weeks, and you're keeping it at 140 to 160, really high temperatures, and you're trying to make compost fast, then you might want to keep the tarp off of it unless you have a huge rain coming in, or if it's, you know, maybe in the middle of the day and it's just getting beaten down by the sun in the middle of summer, which is going to evaporate off a bunch of moisture and kill microbes. You know, these are other reasons you might want to cover temporarily. So think about all those things as you make your pile. So about 5 days later, we have massive fungal growth going on in our pile, and we're at 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's how you compost a body, letting the microbes do all the heavy lifting for you. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my email list down below if you want to hear from me more and hear when my courses come out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.